Snoochie Boochie Snarky Hoochies. It is me, your old pal Tom, and we got guests tonight.
We do. We have a guest, and it's a lady. So it's not just two white cis males talking about movies. Hooray!
Hooray!
It's a white cis lady. Let's kind of the bare minimum guess because I'm a white cis lady, so it's like not that diverse, but a little bit.
New York Snark Exchange. We're marginally progressive.
It's odd that like our spin-off podcast it took us a step back because our actual stream team, the rest of us, it's like 3 people of color. It was like no podcast time to lighten up. So
for this podcast, it's like me and Chris's fucking mayonnaise hour. Like,
oh, that is a disgusting.
That sounds like it might be the name for something else. Like maybe one of the titles at RST Video. Maybe?
Yeah, whoever fucking writes the first NYSX/fic, that's what it's supposed to be called.
Girls that crave mayonnaise hour.
No. Oh, hey, we actually have a Pixel on stream for a change. There she is. She's on her throughout. Alright, cool, Pixel.
I mean, to be fair, Dogma is the Trevor. Trevor, we may have to have you on for Clerks too because yeah. I mean, to be fair, this is the first Kevin Smith film to drop an N-bomb. Unfortunately, it's not the last.
Right, but at least Chris Rock says it.
Yeah, Chris Rock said it, so that's
I think that was also a Chris Rock ad-lib. Like it wasn't in the script.
Oh. Excellent. Okay. Well, look, listen. I'm not gonna tell Chris Rock he can't say that word because he's Chris Rock.
I think I could be wrong about that. We actually did a reading of Dogma in like this online like quarantine Zoom group I'm in where we read film scripts live, and I got to be Bethany in that, which I'm sure I will bring up later because it was like very cathartic after everything that was emotionally involved with me when this movie came out. To be able to read Bethany and have it not be Linda Fiorentino was a big deal. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But the scripts are very different. It's very different. So anyway.
It's funny like oh yeah, Bethany, it's the character I identified. Meanwhile, 17-year-old Chris is like, Brody Lee, that's the dude I'm gonna be when I grow up. 20 years later. Oh no. Oh no, what have I done?
So, it's funny, Trevor in chat mentioned watching Clerks 2 watching either Clerks 2 or Dogma last night thanks to Russia. Before we can really even get into the film itself, we gotta talk about the ways to which to watch this movie because there is no way to watch this film. There's no way to watch this film legally digitally. It is on no streaming services
legally
because the fucking Weinsteins bought the rights, and they're not only holding the rights to the movie, but they're also holding Thistle. Chris, what do you think about them holding Thistle?
What's Thistle, Tom?
This L right here!
God damn it, I hate bits. That's not true, I love bits. So, quick question, not to snitch tag on anyone, but like, am I the only one who watched this via legal means as I bought the Blu-ray for like $10 like a decade ago?
Yeah. So I have it. I actually my copy of Holding Dogma was a VHS from Comedy Central I recorded years ago until I bought the VHS. So I have a copy of it, but it's at home. So instead, the only digital way to watch Dogma is online. And the YouTube user who currently has it uploaded in full, which is how I watched it for this presentation, is a person by the name of Russian Cooch Smoocher.
That's probably also the one I watched because I did see it on YouTube, though I do own it on DVD, and I have it on DVD. And I have actually watched it on DVD. This is an old DVD from like, I don't know, the early 2000s. It's old. And I watched that like a year ago when I was going to do that reading I mentioned before. I rewatched it. But I just didn't want to go through my DVDs and grab it out. Like, so I watched it on YouTube.
You could flip that DVD for anywhere from $40 to $50 according to Amazon right now.
I mean, it's not in the box, though. Does it not matter?
I don't know.
I threw out all my boxes a long time ago.
The Korean import version is also $30, so...
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, the whole reason that the Weinsteins are bleh, but like to put it mildly, bleh. But the reason that they had to do that they had to buy the rights back, was because of the Catholic League and this almost not getting released, because Miramax was owned by Disney at that point, I think. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, this movie almost didn't get released. And so them buying the rights back from like Miramax so that they could sell it to another studio was actually like a boon. That was like a good thing back then. We were all like happy with them for that. Because it looked like it wasn't even going to get released for a little bit.
It's so wild. Like, again, this is the period now where I'm aware of Kevin Smith back in like 1999. As you know, I was a shitty 17-year-old who liked Final Fantasy and Wizard magazine. So that minute that dude's hit big with, I guess, Chasing Amy or Mallrats. He was in Wizard every other month, talking about Daredevil and what have you. So, like, I was aware of Dogma. I was aware of the controversy, which, again, looking back now, it's like, what a weird, like, thing to be angry about.
Mm-hmm. It's so mild. It's so mild. And, like, at the time, it was a big deal.
Right.
It was a really big
South Park existed at the same time.
Yep, and they had him fucking Saddam Hussein. Also, by the way, real quick, for continuity purpose, we are temporarily jumping ahead of Chasing Amy, going right to Dogma, because you may be saying, aren't you doing these in order? Well, we figured that with the combination of it being Easter Sunday, as well as the fact that, I don't know if y'all have noticed this, Satan's back in the news. Satan panic is all over the place now. I figure what a good time to discuss this movie.
Yeah, it's been a minute since El Diablo has been in the news outside of the hit video game Diablo Immortal. But Satan's back, baby!
Listen, America loves a good Satan panic. Like, we love a good Satan panic.
He's dead. He's like, I don't understand why we're panicking on Satan. Lil Nas X, owner of the internet, killed Satan and took over. We're good now.
He gave Satan blue ball, snapped that neck, and made him die. Made him die with the heart on. Like, how much more metal can you fucking get?
Right? Yeah. I'm glad that new king of the internet and hell, I guess, Lil Nas X has killed the Satan.
So, Russian Cooch Moocher, thank you very much for your effort. I think is what we're trying to say in all of this.
To bring it back.
Right.
God. So this is 1998, I believe, when this movie came out.
Was it
99?
99.
Yeah.
1999.
A lot of good things happened in 1999. Final Fantasy VIII, Dogma.
Symmetric will explain later.
That's all I got. Anyway.
So the movie begins with one of the better disclaimers in any movie, reminding the audience that this is fantasy. Only God can judge me. All eyes on me. Fuck you, film critics. Just kidding. Not really. Kinda, but really not. And one of my favorite lines in any film: God has a sense of humor. Just look at the platypus.
And then a disclaimer about platypus shaming. Don't want to do that.
Right.
It's noble platypus.
It's funny. Like,
noble platypus.
I have a lot of complex thoughts about cancel culture and cult culture and all that stuff. What's going on in the Me Too movement? I don't want to get into because that's a whole different podcast and/or conversation. But Kevin Smith calling himself out in his own intro over platypi is. Because platypi themselves are like, I ironically love platypi because they are dumb as hell. So like that whole exchange is written for me, and I was like, thank you, Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, when he's on, he's on. Like this is the Kevin Smith we love. Yeah.
Right. This is I was talking to somebody about this. I think like this may be spoilers. I really like this movie. I think it's my favorite Kevin Smith movie because going to this podcast, I was like, I think it's Mallrats. Then I rewatched Mallrats. I was like, definitely Mallrats. Nope. No. I recant that statement. Dogma. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to watch Dogma. And aside from a few things we'll get into later, I really like Dogma. I think it's a weird movie. And I say weird in the sense that like Kevin Smith is super like he's doing a lot of cool world building in a weird non-Kevin Smith way. Because like at this point now, it's all it is fart jokes and boner jokes, and then here he is like talking about the Bible and struggling with his own faith, and it's oddly Neil Gaiman-esque. But like there's a lot of like Good Omens energy to that, but also Jane Silent Bob are there, and I appreciate that.
I mean, the thing I like about the disclaimer is that it feels so fucking Jersey, because for those who don't live in New Jersey and New York, the idea of apologizing, especially 90s Jersey, the idea of apologizing for something you said that was offensive, like not even in a try-hard edgelord kind of way, was just for it. It was like a, hey, fuck you. Hey, man, that's offensive. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I offend you? Fuck you twice. Like, that was the common New York, New Jersey way about it. And I feel like Clerks and everything up to this point has been like, you know, if they can't take a joke, fuck them. And then someone went up to Kevin Smith and was like, hey, do you remember when that church did that thing where someone said fuck you to them and then they killed a whole ton of people in an inquisition? And he's like, damn, I should probably cover my ass.
I mean, I think it was also like, you know, I remember this at the time. So this is like one of the reasons that I reached out to you guys and was so excited to be talking about this with you, is because I'm like a sort of like stoner, old school Kevin Smith historian.
That's official title now.
If such a thing, right? If such a thing could exist, and I'm like kind of a shit one because it's been a while since I was into this. But when I was at college, this was a huge part of my life, like a really, really big part of my life. I got on the Kevin Smith message boards when I was 17 in my senior year of high school, and that was, well, kind of, yeah, yes.
View Skewed, right?
Yes, View Askew, yeah. But they had a main board, which was where you could post questions to Kevin Smith and various other people that worked at View Askew, and they would respond, and their names would be in red when they responded for like the official crew, and you could like have a username, and then people started talking in the comments threads to each other. And this got so elaborate that they made another web board as an offshoot that was just for like chatter. And that was the board that I was like mainly super into. And I still have friends of mine that I was friends with from that message board. Yeah. So this was a big thing. So one of the things that I say a lot in life that like my mother, who's almost 80, like recognizes is when I go, you know, one of my Kevin Smith web board friends, and she'll be like, oh, right. You know, and that's just fucking normal. But you know, I was super into it. And the thing about Dogma that was interesting was that, you know, I fell in love with Chasing Amy. That was the one that just like blew my whole world apart. It was like the first time I saw a movie and thought I saw myself in a movie. Which was a big deal for me. And, you know, so we were waiting for Dogma. We knew Dogma was going to be the next one. So it was just like, you know, just waiting and waiting for it to come out. And it got delayed so many times. The script leaked online and Kevin was asking people not to read it. And there were like 4 different versions of the script because he kept changing it. And it was actually the first movie he ever wrote. He wrote it before Clerks.
Wow.
So if you're saying that like, oh, it doesn't remind me of Kevin Smith, it's like, he wasn't even Kevin Smith yet. Like,
right, but
he initially wrote it under
we'll get to more because I don't want to be like.
Yeah, he originally wrote it under the title God, and we know that this has been one that's been in production for a while because Clerks ended with Jay and Silent Bob Will Return.
Silent Bob Will Return and Dogma, yeah.
I do love this movie featuring the trend of like. At end credits saying Jane and Silent Bob will return in movie X, and then the next movie they return is not that movie because when we watched Clerks, it was like they'll be in Dogma, hard cut to Mallrats. They'll be in what was it? What the hell? Yeah,
Chasing Amy. It was in Mallrats. They actually called it correctly, Chasing Amy.
Yeah. Was it okay? No, it was it? Because like there was the okay, right, and then we haven't watched Chasing Amy yet, so we don't know how that plays out, and then. And the next movie is not the next movie for their appearance.
That's so interesting.
We'll get to that next week because it's gonna be it's a 2-parter. This is gonna be a 2-parter. So the movie starts off in Asbury Park. Have you guys been to Asbury Park?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Asbury Park.
I went there for Kevin Smith related reasons.
That's awesome.
Asbury
Park rules. Oh yeah, that's all. I feel like that's oddly Kevin Smith adjacent.
Which is
Warped Tour.
Yeah.
I split between Randall's Island and Asbury Park for my Warped Tour experiences.
I feel like a lot of the same people would be into Kevin Smith movies that were going to Warped Tour. It's like,
a lot of Van Slip-ons,
Yeah, there's a lot of ska and a lot of Van slip-ons.
The Venn diagram is just basically a circle.
Right. That and a big weed leaf. It's that. There's an awesome pinball park in Asbury Park. It's also now like where all the hipster Jersey breweries are and a few like venues. I know the guy from Panic at the Disco, brother than Panic at the Disco, had an impromptu concert at one of the breweries, so he had his own Panic beer for like a week.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Asbury Park rules, and this movie starts off with an old man at the boardwalk, and suddenly some shitty teens appear.
I also want to point out that
triplets.
One of the things that we kind of complained about going from Clerks to Mallrats is that nearly everything in Clerks has meaning, has a purpose, is a tie into something. The Jizz Mopper buying window cleaning supplies, or every sign in the background having a significance to the plot. And I feel like this kind of makes a return to that, while Mallrats, a lot of things were just there, for lack of a better term. So the sign on the skee ball, on top of the skee ball area, while John Doe is looking out into the ocean, is the Crazy Scotsman Arcade, win a monkey or a trip to space. He's crazy because he has to give away so much stuff. Which is kind of talking a little bit about Jay and Silent Bob, but also is kind of a little, if you have to describe God in a certain way, he's crazy because he has to give away so much stuff, is thematic.
You're going deep there, Tom. Wow.
I go deep. I go deep in this.
See, you do, Tom. Go deep.
Tom went that route. I went this is a return to form for Kevin Smith loving a good sign gag, which we'll get more into later with the airport scene. But Mallrats was lousy with sign gags, and I like that. I like a good background goof.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very studio involved as opposed to
and Bud Cort.
Yes.
This is Bud Cort.
Yes.
Is the old man who's from Harold and Maude.
Yes, it is. Who famously got into like a really nasty accident and like needed so much surgery. Great actor though. I also so a little bit about me and religion. I am Catholic. I have struggled with the church on and off for years, but I'm closest in Jesuit. I actually became really fucking close to being a Jesuit priest when I was 17.
Dude, the Jesuits are the cool part.
Oh,
they are.
Shit.
They are the cool part. That's like the Exorcist wing. Like the guys who advised on Exorcist, they were Jesuits.
This is no joke. Father O'Malley, who was in the Exorcist, he
Fordham
actually
University.
I went to Fordham Prep. I actually worked. I worked with Father O'Malley on the.
Amazing.
He was the director on the crew I was in stage crew with, and I actually have a very vivid memory of one of the actors staring at one of the girls in on stage on the play, and him forgetting his line, and Father O'Malley yelling at him, "Remember your fucking line. You can jerk off later, you idiot." That was the kind of priest I wanted to be. But then I decided that celibacy was a no-go, so I dropped that plan.
I like pussy. That's what you were gonna say.
I like pussy and dick, so
right, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Listen, I'm with you. I'm the same way. Pussy and dick. Why limit yourself?
We may be white, but we're all terrible.
Are we all bisexual?
Yeah.
At that time, however, I didn't know about one half of that, but that's the story.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see, 17.
Repression.
I was 17.
We're gonna get into that in this movie.
We're gonna get into that a lot next movie.
17. For sure. This came out in November. Final Fantasy VIII came out in September. No, I knew by then. All right, so if we're gonna play the Catholicism game, I was raised Catholic. I was an altar boy. No, I did not get molested. Let's push it out of the way. I had a pretty non-exciting altar boy career for like 3 years. Went to Catholic high school. Did not go to church the minute I graduated. Oh no, sorry. I stopped going to church the minute I got a job, because why would I go to church if I'm 16 and working? I did get married in a church. Also, I am divorced. But speaking of horror movies in churches, my church was using the feature film Amityville Horror. So there's
really? Oh, that's cool.
During the practice mass, the deacon or whoever came out and said, and by the way, this church may look familiar to some of you horror heads because this was used in the Amityville Horror, and my ex-wife's side of the family were like, and all my friends were like, yeah! Yay! Which that explains things. Anyway, so yeah, Edie, you go. Yeah, lapsed Catholic.
Oh, what's my religious
I'm only
background?
into church now when it's funerals and and marriages. Yes, your turn.
Well, I was, I guess, raised Episcopalian.
Okay.
Which was sort of like hippie Christianity. Like it was very relaxed.
Robin Williams Christianity.
Yeah, and I went to my grade school was at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine on the Upper West Side. So I basically like went past a cathedral every day to go to school. So and I sang in the choir there. So it was like a slave thing almost. Like they don't do this anymore with the kids. I shouldn't say it's indentured servant.
Okay.
I apologize, not slave. Indentured servant, really.
In
because
Catholicism, we call it paying indulgences.
Yeah, we elected to be there. We auditioned for the choir, and they gave you a little bit of money towards school, but like not much, because we were rehearsing, I think, like 5 days out of the week for 2 hours a day after school, and then we did 2 services every weekend. So it was like work. It was like child labor for real. So I've had a lot of church, but like I wasn't really like indoctrinated. There was no like religious shame or anything like that. It was very like relaxed, and like there was an AIDS quilt in the front of the cathedral, and it's very, very relaxed and nice and hippie. So so not so bad. And I remember my mom being really shocked when I was like, I don't really believe in God, Mom, and she was like, oh, really? You're not just agnostic? I'm like, no. And
maybe, I don't know. Oh, thank God.
I was like, no. And but it wasn't like a big deal. So yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I feel for you Catholic folks who grow up in Catholic faith and kind of have to find your way, because it's intense.
Yep.
Going to a 4-year all-boys Catholic high school, easily top 3 biggest mistakes of my life.
On Staten Island, Chris.
Yeah, very expensive.
Not just anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
very expensive and very dumb. Shout out to my graduating class, which had some of the highest, some of the best schools, but was the lowest graduation rate in smallest class in my high school's history, because like 50 kids got tossed down the last 2 years, either to drug use, drug dealing, or just other questionable. So yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. White people.
Yeah, fucking Fordham Prep was. It was a very prestigious school. I also remember the kid who snuck 3 bottles of Hennessy in the bathroom and got really fucking wasted during one of the high school dances. One of the funniest instances I've ever seen in my life. But I bring this all up because while I want to like the church, I have a lot of issues with it, but I love theology and I love discussing God. So this movie for me was like my yes, completely made. Like for example, bringing this back to the movie itself, the idea of God coming down as a John Doe homeless man is like the most New Testament shit on the planet, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, just some skee ball, giving the points away to neighborhood kids. It's great. It's really great.
So
looking out at the ocean, just breathing the air.
It's very Neil Gaiman, and I mean that. It's intentional when they get to the credits, but I'll get into that later. So yeah, Old Man is owned by teens, which goes back to the law Ray and I believe in, which is if you see a teenager, you gotta own it in 12 seconds, otherwise they're gonna own you, and these teens own the shit out of this old man.
Yeah. You know, I kind of wanted the Stygian triplets to be more scary than they were. I don't know if they needed to be older. What?
Teenagers are frightening. My Chemical Romance wrote a song about that, and they're from Jersey. Gerard Way knew. There's a straight line from Dogma to My Chemical Romance. I will die in that cross. No politics.
I just feel like they looked so cute. Like it just wasn't. They didn't feel menacing to me. But I love the idea of them.
one of them did eventually become directly responsible for Eric Andre's penis being seen by a lot of people. This isn't a joke, by the way. This isn't a joke, by the way. Katayo Sakurai, the triplet in the blue hockey jersey, is the director of the Eric Andre show.
Oh, really?
Which
that's amazing.
That explains a lot. Also, again, we talked about this with Mallrats. Kevin Smith is a nerd, and he's not afraid to show it. One of those shitty teens wearing a Hellboy shirt in the year of my cat, 1999. Good on you, Kevin Smith. It's good on you, buddy.
Well, you know, I mean, he Mike did they had the what's his name from Mad Men did a bunch of the art in Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, deep. It's deep. There's a Madman shirt in the background in the toy store scene later on.
We'll get into that in a bit.
We'll get there. Sorry, I'm getting it.
That's going to be the Chris's Comic Corner segment for this podcast, because there's a lot. That is a weird marketing thing too. But anyway, so yeah, teens own old man. We cut to Red Bank, where Kevin Smith actually lives for a long time.
That's where the secret stash is.
Yes. Was it? Yes.
It just had another reopening. And they had a grand reopening back in right before this movie came out, and I was at that event, dressed as a Catholic schoolgirl because because of the and then she unzipped her jumper story. I was actually wearing a jumper.
Fair. Yes, Secret Stash is a good Jane Silent Bob store and a subpar comic shop.
Yes. They actually had a bunch of props from Dogma when we did the reopening. So they had a bunch of like blood splattered movie stuff all around the store. And they took you on a tour. They put you on a tour bus and drove you around to all of the Kevin Smith related sites in that area of Jersey. And Brian O'Halloran gave the tour.
Oh,
so he was like leading the tour bus.
That's too funny.
I am supposed to be here today.
Yeah.
So we're in Bank, and we're introduced to Cardinal Glint, played by...
Oh, God, I miss George Carlin so fucking much.
Yeah, it was... I knew he was in the movie, but, like, I didn't expect to feel things when he showed up, because, A, dude is funny, B, dude kills in this role.
He's wonderful.
So fucking good. I just like
he was
imagine...
a poster.
I imagine Kevin Smith coming up to him and going... Mr. Carlin, one of the most famous atheists of all time, would you like to play a chain-smoking dickbag cardinal? And I just imagine he just got up and started fucking leprechaun dancing.
Well, he was raised Catholic too.
Yeah,
George Carlin.
Yes.
There was a big debate in the city about whether they could name the street where his Catholic school was George Carlin Way, because like the Catholic school was like pissed that he was so anti-religion. In the end, he got it. But
goddamn right he did.
Goddamn right. But I'm sure he was only too happy to jump on board a movie that was like funnily critical of religion. And
yes.
Yeah.
Delight to see George Carlin as the Cardinal.
He's wonderful.
It's also scarily how accurate things would come to be with the church trying to and I don't mean this for all
rebrand.
Yeah, I am a fierce defender of Pope Francis. I think it's the progression the church needs. Also, though, the old way is never going to die, or it's going to be a very slow death. But I feel like there's that kind of like, we want to pay progressive lip service, but still some of the even recently where they're like,
I was just about to say,
we can't bless gay unions, but we do believe in progressive love. Like, you kind of can't. You gotta. You gotta.
It's okay. We're not saying that you should like abstain necessarily like we used to, which was like Catholic Church used to be like, it's fine to be gay. Just think those gay thoughts in your head, pray a lot, and don't touch anyone, and you're fine.
Look at that big meaty dick over there, and don't touch it.
Don't touch it. And like, so it's like now it's like, well, if you're not Catholic, we acknowledge that like, it's, it's not that we're not going to preach that it's like eternal hellfire for loving someone necessarily, maybe just purgatory, but like, we're not performing your wedding. You're not fucking doing that.
Right.
Which was disappointing. I was sad to see that. I was like, couldn't you just say nothing? Couldn't you just shush?
Couldn't you just say nothing is like the most Catholic, like.
No.
I mean, they do. If it comes to kids getting diddled, then they say nothing.
Oh.
You know, I was already there. Oh.
God. Anyway.
That's not what I meant.
Cardinal is trying to rebrand Catholicism. And here we're introduced to arguably one of Kevin Smith's greatest contributions to pop culture, the Buddy Christ.
Buddy Christ. I feel like Buddy Christ shows up everywhere and people don't even know where it came from anymore. Like, I've seen people with Buddy Christ stuff and they did not know from Dogma.
Every comic shop from 1999 to 2003 had a Buddy Christ something in the shop, be it a little figurine, a t-shirt, a poster. I think if you owned a comic shop, you legally had to sell a Buddy Christ in some capacity.
Yeah.
And
fucking great.
it's great. It might be the most clever thing he's ever come up with. I like the idea behind it. I know it's done by a shitty person who's basically trying to treat Catholicism like cigarettes, but
right, the character.
It's a genuinely it's kind of a cool idea. That is actually one of the problems I have with Catholicism is that I remember making this point when the Passion of the Christ was a big thing and people were really kind of hardline focusing on the death of Christ. Meanwhile, like, yeah, that's a part of it, but the bigger part of it is here. This is the message. Yeah. Came back from the dead, preached love and tolerance. Him getting his ass whooped ain't the point. That's Die Hard. Yeah. That's the point of Die Hard. Die Hard's a good place to get that message, but this is Catholicism. Like,
yeah. No, it's great. It is really great. Who doesn't want to think about? I mean, I swear to this is like, I feel like this definitely was out before those Jesus is my homeboy t-shirts got really popular. Oh, but it's the same thing. It's like, you know, that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, in its better moments. Religion is somebody to be a friend to you that will have your back.
Yeah. The one constant thing about this movie, sorry to cut you off, Tom, but like, one of those movies is Kevin Smith, like, almost like arguing with himself about faith and belief in religion, and it's interesting because, like, again, this is the dude who fucking, you know, who once screamed, "Hey baby, ever see a man get his asshole, if you ever have your asshole licked by a fat man in a trench coat?" Which, you know, don't hate that, but also like him going a full like 360 80s Vertigo Comics take on religion. It's just very good. You're saying, Tom? Sorry to cut you off.
What was I saying? Oh, who is the person reporting on this for the news?
Oh, I know. It's Grant Hicks, the Hicks bloodline.
Acted again by Brian O'Halloran, aka Dante, aka Gil, and this time he has his facial hair again, so people recognize who the fuck he was.
Yes.
A little mustache. In this universe, in this permutation, it's just a mustache. That's how you know it's not Dante.
One of the things I like about Dogma is, yes, it lets you know that it's in the same universe as Clerks and Mallrats outside of with, you know, via Jane Silent Bob, but also it doesn't like force its way down your throat like with Mallrats and Chasing Amy. It's more or less like, hey guys, same universe here. Here there's a little nod, so like there's a Mallrats reference we'll get into later, and then there's a Clerks reference, but they don't beat you over the head with it, which I super appreciate that. Aside from Jane Silent Bob,
you can see Dogma as a standalone movie and still appreciate and like it, and that's how you build a shared universe.
Right.
As much as I love Marvel, there is a little bit of that problem of, I didn't see Civil War, I can't see Infinity War, I can't see Endgame.
Right. Yeah, this is, again, it's a nice little, it's fan service, more or less, but like, it's not drowning in fan service until we see Jane Silent Bob Strikes Back.
So in comes Matt fucking Damon.
Matt Damon!
Matt Damon. I have so many notes about Matt Damon. Can I word vomit for a minute?
Go for it.
I took notes. Yeah. One, Matt Damon looks like a fucking baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is a little baby. Two, that is a 1998 ass haircut. Three, holy shit. So like Matt Damon, so we all know Ben Affleck had a history with Kevin Smith now. This is his third Kevin Smith movie. Damon's first. Matt Damon, third. He's in Mallrats.
He's in Chasing Amy.
Who? Oh, Damon?
Matt Damon.
Is he? Holy shit.
He plays the other executive.
He's in the Bob Hawk's office, yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. I have not seen that movie since 1999, so that's how I didn't know that. Alright, so this is Matt. Okay, so either way, Matt Damon takes the fucking Kevin Smith style dialogue to a fish to water. Like he out Dante and Randall. Like anything that Kevin Smith says, fucking Damon says it and it's good. Like any rant, any fucking like joke just kills. Like Damon is awesome in this movie.
Yeah. Him and Affleck like are fucking made for this movie. Like to the point where if you could go back and redo Clerks with Damon and Affleck as starring roles, you'd have that exact chemistry. Like
that's a really good point.
It's perfect.
They
were made for these
that movie in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I'd not watch that movie in a heartbeat.
I mean, it was written for them. So, you know, because obviously they'd worked together in previous stuff. But, and this was their first movie that they did that filmed after Good Will Hunting.
Right.
And little known fact, not little known. I don't know if it's little known. I'm just saying that shit. I don't know. I can curse on this, right? It's like not a problem.
No. There is no fucking way we're doing a Kevin Smith podcast or have a Twitch channel in general.
I feel like an asshole for asking, but you know.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm used to not cursing on my own podcast, so. Kevin Smith helped in the writing of Good Will Hunting a lot. He like mentored Ben Affleck and Matt Damon as they were writing, and he was the guy that was like, listen, because they originally wrote Good Will Hunting as it was like a political thriller. It was like so you know the scene I don't know if you remember Good Will Hunting, but there's a scene at the end where they offer Will a job with like the Defense Department, and he's like in an office and he's doing an interview, and he has this monologue he gives about like, here's the problem I have with working for the Defense Department is like, you know, I'm just doing this coding thing, or I'm just whatever. And then they use that to like drop a bomb on like a target in some place, and like a janitor's still on shift, and like that guy had a family or whatever. Like he's making a statement about, you know, I can't just like in good conscience, you know, work for you. And that is like the piece of script that's left from what they originally wrote like the whole movie about of Good Will Hunting, where it was like this savant guy who like gets recruited for the government, and it's like a political thriller.
That is
and Kevin Smith was like, so you've got some really good writing here, but like throw out all this espionage shit, I guess all the Jason Bourne shit that would later be really useful for Matt Damon, and like and focus on the human story of like this kid from Boston with this weird background suddenly being a genius and not wanting to hide it anymore. Like that's your movie. And so they owe him quite a lot, and it was actually a big snub at the Academy Awards when they forgot to thank him in their speech, and they later like apologized for it. And Kevin was real classy about it and whatever, but like, so they were all working together at this time, so I think that's why that dialogue worked so well, is they were kind of like a weird little creative bubble.
He was really classy about it and implied that Ben Affleck killed hookers in
Yes, as we all know, Affleck is the bomb in Phantom. God, I'm so excited.
He was the bomb in Phantom.
Phantom. I'm so excited to rewatch Strikes Back. I don't think it's a particularly good movie, but I think I'm gonna laugh my ass off.
It's really fun fan service, man.
Right, but also
you know,
the little known sequel to Good Old Hunting, Hunting Season.
Hunting Season.
Oh man,
God,
that's like the best part of that movie. That's got to be one of my favorite parts of that whole movie.
It's so good.
It's still a lot of fuck beans for me, but that's for another day. So Damon has as Loki, which I like that they flat out are like, they bring up the title card, just Loki. They like, there's
Loki. Yeah, we're not messing around.
He's having a conversation with a nun who's trying to raise money for her parish, and equates the existence of God to through the looking glass. And in it, convinces this nun that there is no God, or that religion is just a way to manipulate the weak-willed, to steal the money, to find a man and or a woman that will make them feel good, buy a new dress, and get the fuck out. So, If your faith is that flimsy that a single conversation in the span of 2.5 minutes can shake you up, you probably shouldn't be in the church to begin with.
Yes.
2, I love that line. Life is just a series of moments. Find a person to connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That is kind of the point of all religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a much longer scene in the original. I don't know if they filmed it and cut it down or if they'd already like cut back a bunch of the script by the time they were filming. But the only script I could find online, I couldn't find a script that actually represented like what you see on screen. And I think that's because so much editing happened. So much of it was cut and rearranged, and there's like ADR later that you can see where they're sort of changing stuff, especially in the strip club. Where there's like a whole scene cut out between the gang and Jay and Silent Bob, and they have to overdub Salma Hayek to like make it make sense, even though it still kind of doesn't if you're paying attention.
There was also weird shit of like in the original cut, Bethany was a stripper, so they probably wrote more dialogue for the strip club.
What? No, she wasn't.
There was a in one of the initial drafts of it, but this is before they actually wrote.
Script.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like of the movie. I was like,
no. This isn't a Mallrats situation where there's like a director's cut with another 40 minutes of fucking dialogue tacked onto it.
I didn't read that version. That must have been one of the early versions. The one I read recently was, I think, the 4th draft. You can easily find like a 1st draft and a 4th draft of Dogma online if you poke around for it. And the 4th draft is the one that I read recently. It had a huge extended scene with the nun. So I think we're meant to think that he's been talking to the nun for more than 2 minutes, that they've been like talking for a while. But you're still right. I mean, even if it's an hour conversation, like if she was on shaky ground, then, you know, it's time to go. And go drink some beer later, which we do.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that the idea that everyone has a paradise, even God. So John Doe looking out at the ocean, Bartleby at the airport, watching the watching that connection.
Years before Love Actually, by the way.
Yeah.
Which Love Actually totally has this scene and is like, oh, I remember I went to see Love Actually and they were like doing it as like this big emotional moment, and aren't we so smart for thinking about this human connection? I'm like, Kevin Smith did it, you know, like.
I like that he points out particularly that the woman cheated on her husband, but
Twice.
that all of that, but that all of that, basically everything is forgiven when they see each other again, because ding 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 ding, this is the entire point of the fucking movie. They're trying to find God and hope that everything is forgiven.
Oh my God, you're so smart. That's so right.
It's fucking
great.
God,
yeah.
They're putting these great little they're putting these great little things in that, like,
sowing the seeds.
I'm expecting fucking Keenan Ivory Wayans to come run by the screen going message.
Yeah, it's so great. That was actually shot in a bunch of Dogma was shot in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And I actually went to Pittsburgh to visit friends of mine from the Kevin Smith web board in, I guess, like 2004. And they were about to move out west, and they drove me around to all the Dogma locations, and I flew into that airport. Ooh. And it was so weird. I got off the plane and I was like, oh my God, Loki and Bartleby were like right there.
Where are the cheese hats? I want a cheese hat.
Yeah, the cheese hats. I did not see a cheese hat stand.
Love me a good Packers cheese hat. Also, it's odd. Again, I wasted 4 hours of my life to watch the fucking Snyder Cut and seeing rugged, libertarian, jacked up Ben Affleck. So to see that and hard cut back to babyface Ben Affleck was where also with his 90s haircut was like super jarring.
He's so cute.
I also do love like how well Affleck and Damon work off each other, because like
I know, right?
They are just like they're having like a lot of the actors in this movie, but especially these two are having the time of their life, and like I love, like, we'll get into it later as like their roles kind of change, but how like well Affleck and like Damon joke, and like, you know, like the bit where Affleck screaming how he doesn't have an asshole, literally.
Your anal retentiveness saved us again. Can't be anal retentive if you don't have an anus. They take to this dialogue so fucking well.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, how did you say this with a straight face? Because that had me fucking dying.
they're having this like they're having this like actually genuinely fucking good theological discussion about the infallibility of God, laws of man. The Bible can't be infallible, but it also has that fucking stupid line of whatever you do on earth, I'll do in heaven. Like, they're having this like fucking genuinely good discussion while also talking about anal retentiveness, and it's like, this is the shit I like love.
I have to think that the backgrounds play a factor here, because it's like they both come from, if I'm not mistaken, both Kevin Smith and these two guys come from working class Catholic families.
Right.
So like, you know, and they both ended up all three of them ended up in show business and in this life that they probably didn't really think was accessible to them when they were going for it. I don't think that they had any concept that it was going to go the way it did. And so young, they all found fame. So I think that to some degree, like, that's at play here too. And they were like Boston Catholics. They had to be thinking about this shit. They had to be joking about it. Like, it's real to them. And I think that's why their dialogue works so much, is that they're steeped in this.
Yes, it works. It's so believable. And again, seeing Kevin Smith like channel Good Omens, I'm not sure if it's intentional or not. I mean, it's a little bit, probably more Sandman given like Smith as a person, but like it's very much Neil Gaiman via the way of a boner joke, and like I love that. That is 2000% my shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, you know, he's working through his own faith was kind of what it was, is that he wanted to write something that about the questions he had coming out of being raised in Catholicism. And of course he does it in this like, you know, pop culture, comic book, like, you know, just kind of scatological, literally and figuratively way.
So after they ruin that nun's life and then discuss this theology,
or made her life, let's be honest.
Okay, well, getting arrested at an airport, probably not the best thing in life, but
I like to imagine her a year later at Lilith Fair just having this time.
Yes, if you got a post-credit scene, that'd be delightful.
She shows up in the background and chasing Amy.
We get
that would be the best.
That would be so great.
We get the master plan. Basically, during the rebranding of Catholicism, there is a weird loophole that proves God's fallacy, and by doing so, Barnaby and Loki, the two exiled angels, which we haven't mentioned that yet, they are exiled for various, for angel crimes, can go home and go back to heaven instead of being cursed to walk the earth.
Plenary indulgence. They bless the arch. And when they walk through the arch of the consecrated church, their sins are wiped clean. All human sins are wiped clean.
Right.
And if they die after that, they can, without sinning again, they can go to heaven.
Right.
So the plan is to cut off their wings, become human, go through the arch, and then kill themselves, or have someone kill them or die. Right. And then they go to heaven.
Right.
Real quick aside. I took a look at that actress, because I'm like, what if she wasn't Chasing Amy? She isn't in Chasing Amy, but the actress who played the nun.
She's famous.
Yeah, she isn't. She's also in Jersey Girl, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, Red State. And for almost 32 years, Mr. Rogers' motherfucking Neighborhood. Lady Abraham.
I knew she was someone famous.
Oh,
I
bless
remember.
her. Again, no pun intended. Bless her, though.
Yeah.
Which is just
that is
fucking bananas.
That's so good. But aside from wanting to go back to heaven, there's Loki adds a little side trip to the adventure. They want to. Loki specifically wants to dispute some divine justice at the movie corporation, as they have gone and created a false god. Movies being
right,
the
so he's juiced up.
Yeah, he wants to be the.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no worries.
We do it all the time.
Movie is the Mickey Mouse / McDonald's analog.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because at this point I believe Disney owned Miramax, and I can't believe that Kevin Smith didn't get shot by them.
Right. I'm sure.
Fair.
I'm sure this. Well, no, because at this time, this was. Miramax also, Disney was also doing the hit 2-episode aired Kevin Smith series, Clerks animated series. So I guess they kept, the sniper was there, but they didn't shoot him.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that they bring up plenary indulgences because of this. Plenary indulgences, for those who don't know, are probably one of the greatest fuck-ups of the Catholic Church, next to, of course, the Inquisition. The buying and selling of indulgences basically meant that if you had enough money, you could literally buy your way into heaven, which was the direct cause of Martin Luther separating from the church. And I like that the fuck-up of plenary indulgences continues to be, in this film, the cause of everything bad is because the church fucked up with indulgences. So that movie choice of them going to take care, as we'll see later, of the board and make a message, much like in the way Bartleby sees the couple at the airport and all is forgiven, a lot of their path is kind of like trying to get back together with your ex, if you want to view it that way. And there's it's a bad idea. I know we're still in quarantine. Don't fucking do it. Your ex is gonna message you. Don't fucking do it. Don't pick up that phone. Don't pick up that phone. They're not gonna talk to you about their dog. They may talk to you about other things. I learned that lesson the hard way.
It's the end of the world.
I've been thinking about you.
And I feel fine.
I feel fine. Bad idea.
There's a streamer I really like. Her name is Dipped in Poison, and every time she goes for a break, she's like, "Hey guys, take a stretch, get some water, and don't text your ex." And that is a powerful phrase that I am all about. Unless you're on good terms with your ex, like I'm on good terms with my friends, but like it's not like, "Hey, what WD'd you?" It's more like, here's the cat," or like, "Go watch Invincible on Amazon Prime. It's very good." That's not a plug, even though technically Tom and I are Amazon employees.
Give us your Prime subs.
Interesting.
But that movie choice.
I just want to let you know, talk about movie. I'm just gonna put on some lights in my living room so that I don't blur out.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
So the movie choice feels distinctly like someone you may have dated when you were in high school, treating you like that person, like, the idea of like, you refuse to acknowledge how I've grown up, but it's like it feels like your ex trying to get back together with you by sending you either like an image, like a meme, or buying you something from a series that you were both really into when you were 16, but like you've grown up since. So it's like that feeling of like, you don't know who I am now, you only care about who I was then. That is entirely the movie decision on that. The refusal to acknowledge that God may have fucking changed since the Old Testament into the New.
Right.
Yeah.
God, the line, "bought you something you were into when you're 16 but no longer into." I don't have experience that firsthand, but I've talked to a lot of friends, all of them who identified female, and would say, "Oh yeah, blah 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 sent me this when I was into like 10 years ago, but no longer." I was like, "Uh-oh!" Like, that's a red flag.
So we cut from there. Also the great line as they go into the elevator. If I had a dick, I'd get laid, but let's do the next best thing, kill people. Psh, not you.
And you saw who that was, right? Who spit out the water?
No, who?
That is Heather Jones. That's Alyssa's little sister Heather, who fucks Rick Darris in
Clerks. Oh shit, Rick Darris! Wow. Oh, that was
that slipped right past me. Shit.
That's so good. I'm glad you're here.
Why I'm here, guys.
Yeah, to point out.
I'm here for you.
As a professional media journalist / Kevin Smith stoner aficionado.
I haven't gotten to write about Kevin Smith really though yet, and it's like I don't know. I feel like it's in there. Anyway.
Yeah, listen. History will be kind of Kevin Smith as far as I'm concerned. So we now cut back. We cut to God, I'm already blanking on this.
Chicago.
Is it Chicago, Illinois?
Shermer, not Shermer,
yes.
not Shermer, Illinois.
Yeah.
Where not only is
podcast.
Bethany is like, even though she's not really feeling it, she's actually probably paying the most attention out of anyone in the church, which,
yes,
one thing that kind of isn't talked about a lot, and as a Catholic, I don't really go to church all that often. Why? Because most of the pastors that here talk are dull. They don't give a shit. Very few have actually like inspired me to want to keep going back. And there are things talked about on a theological level where if you go to church or do the commandments just because, you know, you're going through the motions and you don't really think about it, it's a greater sin than not going. So
not going, interesting.
So like, you know, the entire thing of like the people who go to church just because and don't feel it or become occupied by other things, that's a greater sin than just not fucking going to church.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I mean, it's just kind of an interesting, taken it from that point of view, it's an interesting commentary on how religion is really a community thing. Mm-hmm. And it's more about, you know, being seen as doing something, and, you know, that it's for yourself. It's not about connection to the religion at a certain point. It's a connection to like history or your memories of your family or culture, you know. Like a lot of, like, I have friends who say like, I'm culturally Jewish, but I don't go to temple. It's kind of like that is what I feel like. You know, it's like people, we will go through the motions. They'll go on the big holidays. They'll go to church, but
right.
Or they're kind of sleepwalk through it.
Today is Easter.
In that scene in the church, so at the time that Dogma was being made, there was a call put out on the message boards for message board people to come and be extras in Dogma. And I don't know what I was smoking that I didn't go and do it.
Weed, probably weed.
Not weed.
Probably weed. No, it was weed. I mean, it was definitely weed, but I feel like that doesn't even explain it. So I don't know what the hell was wrong with me, something, but I didn't go. And this is there are a couple of scenes where you see people, and one of the main scenes you see people from my message board is in this church scene when it's panning down, and it's like, oh yeah, person I slept with, person.
I'm glad Edie brought that up, because she told me when she first signed up for this, she's like, yeah, she was telling me some stories like, I'm not repeating that on the air. I'm not gonna repeat that on the air. He's like, zip, I will repeat that on the air. I was like, I'm glad you did this, because like, you know, I was afraid that I was gonna fucking like slip and fuck this up. And he's like,
our responsibilities are done.
Fine.
I don't know anything, so I can't fuck it up. Yay.
Okay, good.
You know,
that's fine. I'm good. So that's off the list, and now I just have to make sure I don't say the racist words.
I'm very happy to say that Kevin Smith got me laid a bunch of times. Which, you know,
Smith, if you're watching, which by the way, we know you're watching because you liked this fucking tweet. Thank you.
That's right. He knows, because he knows about the message boards, and like people got married off those message boards. I have friends who are still married who met on those message board. Guy from London and a woman from Ohio, and she moved to London, and they are still married quite happily.
Oh, duh.
That's
no one's moving to Ohio.
That's one of the good things about the internet. I like hearing stories about people meeting on message boards or video games or I guess that's it, really. Yeah, it's one of the wholesome things, other than like, oh no, my son hung out on 4chan and now he's a Nazi.
Yeah. No, it was amazing. I mean, you meet people from all over the world, from all over the country, and you come to town and you see people and you like, oh yeah, let's have a drink, and you see if they're cool and you want to stay in touch. I'm still in touch with a bunch of people from those boards, and they are awesome folks. So, you know. Yes. Yeah, one of them was at my two of them were at my wedding. So.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's heartwarming. So Bethany thinks God is dead.
God is dead. Can I just get Linda Fiorentino off my chest real quick here at the top?
Go for it.
Sure.
She is so miscast in this movie. It is painful for me to watch it because of her.
Yeah, go on.
She's playing it like she's in a straight drama the whole time. She has no real sense of humor through it, and everyone else is playing it like they're in kind of like a dark comedy or dramedy, and she just doesn't seem to understand the tone at all, and she is just kind of like a wet noodle through the whole thing. She's just like, through it, and it just... for the snappiness of the dialogue, and unfortunately they cut a lot of her introduction as a character, which I think would have helped her, because it was super problematic in the original script. When you meet her, there's a whole scene with her at the abortion clinic where she is talking about her experience, and they reference that she had an infection that quietly destroyed her womb, In the original script, she gets an abortion without telling her boyfriend, who would later become her husband, and the abortion gives her an infection that then makes her unable to carry a child. And then when she finds that out years later, without knowing that, she gets the abortion thinking she can get away with it, lying to her boyfriend. We'll just have a baby later. It's no problem. We're in college. I don't want to have a baby right now. When they try to have a kid later, she realizes after they get married that she can't. And she's giving this whole speech to this girl who's coming in to get an abortion. And because the girl asks her, like, why do you do this? Why are you in this job if you're Catholic, and why do you care? And she says, this is why I care, is because, like, people need access to good health care, because I try to do this in secret so no one would find out. And I ended up, getting in a bad situation and having complications. They cut that, I think, because it came off super, even when you read it in the script, it comes off super like, be scared of abortions, folks. You know what I mean? Like, they're dangerous. And that's not the vibe he's going for. But
he's
what ends up
for
happening,
the exact opposite.
Yeah,
exact opposite. But what it does is it kind of guts Bethany as a character, and you don't know who she is or what her motivations are. And so it's, Linda Fiorentino, I think, with a better actor who got Kevin Smith, like say Matt Damon and Ben Affleck did, it could have been saved, and you still would have been like, I want more from her, but she's really fun. Linda Fiorentino just did not know what to do, and she's really flat.
Right.
And it's really hard. So when I mentioned I did a reading of this a year ago and I got to be Bethany, I fought for that, in my little group where you bid for roles. I was like, I'm doing this. I am going to prove to myself that this movie would be really incredible with someone who even knew half of what they were doing, right? I'm not a professional actor. And it was so much better when we read it. And I was sort of in it. I wasn't just she seems kind of like she's on Valium a lot of the time. She's just sort of spaced out.
Because she is. Percocet.
I have two notes about this. One,
I'm done.
Kevin
That's
Smith.
my rant.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. Kevin Smith agrees with you. According to Kevin Smith himself,
I remember.
He said she was a nightmare to work with, and she didn't refute anything. Because people were there was a weird second minute trying to be mad at Kevin Smith for talking ill of a woman, and he said no. He went with Janine Garofalo as the main as in that role instead.
Yep.
And she
then
does
she
feel
couldn't do it or something, right?
Definitely would have been a better choice.
Yeah. But who appears in the movie about it? Janine Garofalo is Bethany's coworker. And two, every time the Fortune runs, it's weird. There's a bit where she runs into the lake. I wish we had a clip of that, because it is it is the prequels level awful. It's literally like this though.
It really is. Oh, it is prequels level awful.
It's one of those things that really takes me out of the movie, and not in an offensive way, but it's just bad way. And it's so bad I upset my cat. Look at her. You can see it.
Pixel.
It kind of reminded me of when I saw the Scott Pilgrim movie, and I loved almost everything about the Scott Pilgrim movie, but I did not like Michael Cera, and I liked the actors on their own, but I didn't like them as Scott and Ramona, because Michael Cera just showed considerably less emotion until the line "bread makes you fat," and then all of a sudden the entire movie's worth of anger and emotion came bursting out in that "bread makes you fat" line. I feel like that was the same thing with Bethany, where the entire movie's just deadpan, and then all of a sudden that one angry rage garden scene just dead. Everything kicked, damn, the edible kicked in at once. Sega PlayStation. There are some benefits to that though, and I think the benefits to her playing Bethany were that because she was kind of plain. It's like when you're making something like a fruit salad and you have a plain Greek yogurt that lets all the other flavors kind of jump out, because her kind of deadpan acting really made Jay and Bob pop. It really made Rufus pop. It really made every other character really pop, and her blandness made her feel kind of human. I definitely do think I would have liked to see Garofalo in it as well.
Yeah.
But
even not a Garofalo, even someone who isn't as sort of scene steely and like down to earth and comedic as Garofalo, I would love her in that. But I'm saying you could even have somebody who's just got the tone better and was more present. And you could, I feel like you could still have that, because I'm telling you, I read this script and like, I'm an okay actor. I'm okay. I'm not making money at this shit. I'm okay, you know? But like, it was, I mean, I can't tell you what, it was infinitely better. I was very emotional after I finished it, because I had been looking so forward to this movie. I was like having flashbacks to being 18 and reading the script online, because I just couldn't wait anymore for Kevin Smith's like magnum opus about like gods and religion and like weird shit to like come out. And like being so excited, because when you read it on the page, it's incredible. Like it's so good, and there's so much good dialogue, and you're like, fuck yes, all of this. And like, yeah, Vertigo, you're totally right, Chris. Like, it's all in that tradition. And I fucking love Good Omens, and I love Neil Gaiman. I love fucking comics. And like, it just, and then fucking Linda Fiorentino. And just, it's just a dead. You want to hit me with that fish is her entire performance. You want to hit me with that dead fish, Linda Fiorentino. Okay, I'm dead. I said I was done. Now I'm really
fine. So last thing about that, and we'll try to get the next 20 minutes about plot stuff. I'm surprised he didn't go with Joey Lauren Adams.
He tried.
Okay. Because like,
did you think about having Alanis Morissette as her at once too?
I'm not sure about Alanis, but possibly.
I think so.
So. Also, real quick before we move back into plot, Steve, Dave, and Fanboy teleported to Chicago as well.
Yes! And now they're talking about being baby killers.
Yes.
Brian Johnson, who is referenced later, and he became a comics writer.
Yes.
And the famous Walt Flanagan.
Walt Flanagan and his dog. No dog. They should have had the dog.
They should have the dog.
Who's dead? The immortal Walt Flanagan?
He bought another one, exactly the same.
Gosh.
So, I have that in my notes that this is the role Jason Lee was born to play.
God. Yes.
He
we cut back
is so fucking good as Asriel. No Rapture, no Exquisite Sin greater.
No Exquisite Sin greater than that.
Central Air.
I say it every time I go to a place that has Central Air.
Right. So, like, Brody and Azrael are nearly the same character. The difference is Azrael's intentionally shitty, and that's why Azrael's the better Jason Lee role.
Yeah.
Like, he is just he's a shit-ass demon, figuratively, literally, and Jason Lee is, again, another Kevin Smith bet, and he fucking rules. He is so good. He is the one. Yeah. Go on.
The one thing I initially wrote that he is the most stylish demon I have ever seen, until later in the film where I have to write it back, because what I thought was a nice white suit was actually a white blazer and a white polo underneath it. And if you're wearing a sports jacket and a polo, I'm gonna throw you in a dumpster. It's a bad look.
Right. I can't believe fucking Kevin Smith predicted fucking Jordan Peterson. No, Jason Lee is, we find out that he is a demon in league with the shitty teenagers what beat up the hobo at the beginning of the movie. And they are doing some plots. They may be manipulating our dear friends Barnaby and Loki. Who knows? Anyway, cut back to bland Greek yogurt Bethany, who is doing a pray, going to bed, and suddenly Snape appears. Hey kids, it's Alan Rickman.
Alan fucking Rickman comes in the best introduction to any character in any movie I've ever seen, bursting a dresser in flames, Old Testament style, yelling, "I am the Metatron, voice of the holy one true God." She immediately puts the flame out, and I have here in my notes
with a fire extinguisher that works this time.
Yes.
God, I fucking miss
no.
Alan Rickman so much.
Yes.
Sorry, I interrupted you there. You're right.
No, it's fine.
Alan Rickman, incredible. Also, every scene he's in where he has to act against Linda Fiorentino, I get mad because I'm like, this was a waste of Alan Rickman that we got. We had a finite amount of Rickman, and it's being wasted on this fish, this wet fish.
It makes his frustration with her, though, feel so authentic.
Fair.
Yes.
Also, I do not like the reveal of the Ken doll. It looks really weird. This was like the makeup needed to be better on this or something.
Yeah. The makeup and the CGI were a little iffy at times. It's funny you keep on saying fish because she swings at the Metatron with a fucking baseball bat, which he turns into...
literally why I said it.
Okay, cool. All right. Not trying to Kevin Smith's, I guess, a blunt man explain, but I think it ties it together nicely.
I totally gave you a little fangirl anger. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's very deep.
It's fine.
The first time...
Yeah, it's fine.
So the first time I saw this movie, like I said, was on Comedy Central, where they cut down on a lot of stuff, and that was actually one of the scenes that got cut. Instead, it just literally... not all of it, but it literally goes from her saying, "Don't take anything or rape me," and he says, "I can't, I'm ill-equipped, I'm like a Ken doll." They don't show any of that. He just says it. So
he just says it.
It wasn't until years later that I saw
the, like, fake crotch.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't until years later that I saw that scene, and like I almost spit my fucking drink out because I was not expecting that.
Right.
Standards and Practices was like not even a fake flesh area can we show. That's amazing.
The shot with his wings coming out is so fucking cool. Every scene with wings in this movie is so fucking cool. Whoever like their special effects team was in this, God, you guys did so fucking good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good like practical special effects in this movie that have aged really well because it's practical and not CGI, where the CGI is like
yeah, like the horns growing out of Azrael. I'm like, did we really need to see those grow out of his head? Could he just not take off the hat and there are the horns? Like, we don't need to...
The poop demon scenes, especially, like, does not age well.
Oh, God. Anyway,
my favorite bit about the whole Metatron Bethany scene is he's explaining he's that voice of God because every time God speaks to a mortal, they can't comprehend it and their heads explode. And just him muttering, "Lost a lot of atoms that way," kills me.
I like that they're setting up. They're setting up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was just mumbling to myself.
That's fine.
I like how this is a really key fucking piece of information. This is gonna be like what ends up saving the day, and they talk about it so matter of fact that it's like that's a fucking Chekhov's gun if I've ever heard one done really, really well. Also, now that we have Alan Rickman in the movie, I want to talk about how this is the best cast Kevin Smith film of all time.
Oh, yeah.
This, Dogma did a lot of things that, like, Clerks worked really great because it was Kevin Smith and his friends doing this thing. Right. Mallrats, you had kind of like a bit of, like, studio involvement trying to cast people who really weren't right for roles who didn't end up getting it, but, like, there was kind of trying to marry Hollywood and Jersey, and it worked to a degree, but, like, I also know they wanted a version of Mallrats with Seth Green as Jay and Reese Witherspoon in it. That just wouldn't have worked. Nearly everyone in this movie is a well-known actor, but every one of them fits their role like a glove. Like,
I mean, Alan Rickman was such a big get for this. I think it was pretty much he wrote this role with Alan Rickman in mind, and then they somehow fucking managed to get Alan Rickman. Like, it was a big deal.
So they actually talked about the who he had in mind for this, and this was like nearly the one person that he I think initially wrote Rufus was for Samuel L. Jackson, and then got Chris Rock and was like, no, Chris Rock is actually better for this role.
Yeah, like
totally
I think there's some fun to have as Sam Jackson as Rufus, but he'd be at an 11 at the entire time, where Chris Rock could turn himself down to a 5 or 6.
Yeah, he would have taken over the scene. Samuel Jackson.
Right.
Samuel Jackson's super commanding. Like,
right.
Whereas Chris Rock feels a little bit more like he can be one of the group and you buy it.
Right. I need a light beer, not a tequila.
Speaking of, I really want Alan Rickman to teleport me to drink tequila with him because
yes.
He can spit it anywhere he wants. It's fine.
I am not disagreeing. Right, here we get the whole
Loki and Bart. So sorry, but yeah, sorry to move things along. Bethany is teleported.
We're having too much fun, guys.
Yeah.
Well, we're cutting up the 90-minute mark, and like I want to make sure we can do this in 2 pods and not like 6. So they teleported down the street to a Mexican place. Metatron explains the problem if the Ben and the Matt find a flaw in God's great divine plan, it will undo all reality, which is bad. Everything will cease to exist. It's basically it pokes a giant hole into. I'm gonna whisper close to the mic so I can say a name. The Catholic Dogma. Dogma's the name of the movie, y'all.
They did it.
Yeah,
they did the thing.
They did it. I love it. I love it when movies say their own titles in there. And they do that, and yeah.
I love the line where she's like, what do I have to do? I just have to go to a church in New Jersey? Yeah, that's basically it. What's the fine print? The fine print is such a fucking Catholic thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I love when he says, you know, we're not asking you to go to a crusade. We're just asking you to go to New Jersey. And I'm like, going to New Jersey is a crusade.
Right.
Yeah, we're not asking you to build an ark.
Someone who moved to New Jersey a year ago.
Right. And I live in New York, so I'm allowed to make fun of New Jersey. But only me in Philadelphia.
What, did they send them to hell? Worse. Wisconsin.
Also, yeah. Every line of dialogue Kevin Smith gives to fucking Rickman kills it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the recontextualization of the Job parable for modern day problems, and also just the line, don't let existence be rewritten because you have a grudge. That's a really fucking good way of writing this, looking at it. I love anytime we have side-by-side scenes of Jason Mewes with Alan Rickman, because apparently Kevin Smith had to have a talk with him of like, hey, we need you to, like, hey, you know how, like, we normally act with just, you know, our friends or low actors? Yeah, Alan Rickman's a fucking Shakespeare-trained, thespian, fucking brilliant actor, and we're paying tons of money to have him here. So can you not, like, scratch your dick while you're acting?
Dude, you gotta bring it.
Yeah, we're spending die-hard money on this. And not for the other guy who will eventually make his way in.
And you know the end of that story, right?
Which one? The bruise
with Jason Mewes.
Yeah, that order. Go for it.
Overcompensated, and he wanted to know all of his lines, so he memorized the entire movie.
He memorized the entire script in order to be able to not fuck up his lines, which is. That's so cool. That's such a fucking...
That is that is some drama kid realness right there. Like, Jay, I wish he'd been in drama and given a shit about drama in high school, because that is what you do. Speaking as a former drama kid, you memorize everyone's fucking lines, and you're like, when it's not you, you're like mouthing it behind your hand. You fucking know the whole thing because you're that nerd. I love him for that. Brilliant.
So as we're alluding to said Jay and perhaps a Silent Bob, Metatron points out that Bethany will not be alone on this journey. She'll be helped with some profits. Guess who they will turn out to be? Yeah, in a manner of speaking. I have a note that says, put a rat in your mouth, and I'm not sure what that means. I watched this movie 3 days ago.
What?
Or maybe it's there is yes, now I remember what it is. One of the signs in the Mexican plate just says put a rat in your mouth, and I don't know the greater context of that, but that stood out to me.
That's a sign, all right. So I know I talked earlier about how I feel like this movie is actually doing a better job of doing background stuff, which is very comic book style. Where, you know, you're trying to fit as much information into the page as possible, so stuff like what's on a person's desk is gonna matter a lot. A lot of untold stuff. So actually, in Bethany's apartment, you can see a lot of Percocet and Valium bottles by her nightstand, which is a very nice touch to show that, yeah, she is kind of self-medicating a little bit to get through.
Yeah, she does mention, like,
feelings.
I could just go home and take some Percocet.
Yes.
But like, I mean, that's also something people just say, like, I'm going to need a Xanax to get through this. And it doesn't mean they're actually going to go take a Xanax. And like, was the actress actually on drugs when she was doing this movie? Or like, did she have a pill addiction? Or like, was she playing it like Bethany had a pill addiction?
I just meant I saw, yeah. But there are a bunch of pill bottles in Bethany's apartment. Like on the nightstand.
Interesting.
Karen Smith said she wasn't a nightmare to work with and didn't go into specifics. Linda Fiorentino never refuted it, and that's all we really know.
Yeah. That's all we know. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway. Poor Linda Fiorentino. I'm sure she's a lovely person. She's been great in other movies. This was just a bad time.
So now she's coming out for work for the day. She's going to get into her car, and the triplets come back, and the smack of the hockey pucks on the floor are still one of the most like intimidating scenes.
Yeah. The ADR in the scene is perfectly good between the skates, the hockey sticks, and the flies.
Mm-hmm.
But
the
also,
fly sounds great.
Yeah. So the shitty teens are gonna, because Linda Fiorentino didn't own them in 12 seconds, they're gonna own her, except for the prophets are here, and they know the rule. Enter Jay and Silent Bob, or as I have my notes, hey kids, it's Jay and Silent Bob.
Snooch to the motherfucking nooch.
Fucking nooch, right? Yeah, they see shitty teens, they are ready to own them.
Kicks their mighty duck fuck asses. And then Jay says one of my favorite.
Silly. Go ahead.
It's so good. And then Jay says one of my favorite lines. I know they were just kids, but we kicked their ass.
This is okay.
But I feel like these guys are supposed to be menacing, and like really they just kind of dispatch them so easily. This always did not sit well with me. I wanted some reason to tell me why this worked so well. Like,
two things that worked for me. One, it's Jay and Silent Bob beating up teenagers, which Silent Bob is gonna go on to fucking fuck up several celestial beings in this movie. This kind of sets the path, but two, it's also Jay's there to fucking bring down his weight class. As we know, Jay can't do shit for the most part. So, like, them being teens makes sense to me, because it's something that Jay's gotta be able to fucking take care of.
But, like, they're demon teens.
Right.
Like, we need menace to push this. And this is, like, alright.
Follow me here.
Okay.
Let's
go on a journey.
While... wow, stereo. Now, while divine beings, in a theological sense, do have power, a lot of their power is from a state of belief. What's a god to an unbeliever, as someone once said. So, these frightening entities are more dangerous the more the person who sees them as dangerous and sees them as a demonic presence. Jay is too stupid to comprehend any theological divine power bullshit in this entire movie. He's too stoned. Nintendo, I wish that I could make her see.
Thank you, Tom.
I think if Jay were a little more coherent, he would have been more terrified, but Jay is just too fucking stupid to know what a demon is, and thus just sees them as a couple of just fucking kids. And Silent Bob is the most powerful entity known to man.
Yeah. On one hand,
you just tack that on at the end there.
It's kind of low key little that Kevin Smith cast himself as the fucking the God killer. On the other hand, Kevin Smith is a busy man. It's just probably and then Silent Bob kicks their asses. It's probably a lot easier to film and explain away. It's
Listen, I love your theology. Excuse me, I'm a punk now. Your theology workaround for that is like, bravo. I just want to see it in the movie, because I don't get the menace, and this is one of my main problems with Dogma, which becomes more apparent in the second half, is that I don't feel the menace enough, and like the stakes aren't really established as coherently as they could be to sort of push towards that final climax and really like make it as intense as it could be. And that's one of the things is like, I love that idea that like, because they just don't believe and they're not scared like Bethany is, because Bethany's a woman walking through a parking lot where protesters are threatening her life every day. Like she's going to be terrified, like totally fair. She's got she's got the mace on her keychain. This is a woman who's definitely freaked out. And I've like been that woman with mace on her keychain, like walking through the dark area at night. And it is a scary time and you are afraid, especially if like 3 weird punks on skates come up with like big wooden sticks. But like, there's such a leap of logic that you have to make to get there that I'm like, I want that to be said. I want like at some point for Rufus to be like, well, you know, belief pumps these things up or something like that, like something to explain it, because I just don't get it. And it came off a little sillier to me than I liked. Mm-hmm. There are a few moments in this movie where I feel like they tended toward the silly when they should have reined it in a bit, and like, and it would have punched up the moments that were sillier more. The contrast would have been better to just sell it, but that's
yeah, that's fair. I mean, like, I'm not. None of the takes are wrong. It's just like, oh no, it makes sense to me that like also like they have like I think it's just Kevin Smith writing himself out of the corner.
You can just have fun with it, yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, Jane Silent Bob just beating the shit out of teenagers on a visual level is hilarious to me, Chris. Yeah.
It's like when you point, it's like if you point a knife at a dog, they don't know what it is, so it won't like if you point a gun at a person who's about to attack you, they may stop because it's a gun, they know the danger of it. Mm-hmm. But like a bear isn't gonna know what a gun is, so if a bear is charging you and you pull out a gun, the bear just is ignorant to what is in front of it and will just continue to attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so speaking of cameos and Kevin Smith bullshit, hard cut to a gun shop, and hey kids, it's Randall.
It's Randall.
Starting with the line, the fecalator.
The fecalator.
Here comes Randall. He's selling guns.
Actually, before we get to gun talk, do we want to talk about how Jan, Silent Bob are surprisingly feminist?
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about this line. I had I have the line.
While they're coercing her for sex, you mean? Yes, very feminist.
Jane Silent Bob, actually, I have Jane Silent Bob. Jay surprisingly pro-choice, but also the goddamn worst.
Yep.
It's in the same line of dialogue. Yeah, Jay's like, yeah, and again, I am paraphrasing people. This is don't email me. A woman's body is their choice, which yes, Jay, I agree. And we're here to pick up these sluts at the abortion clinic because we know they put out. Which you had me at the first half, Jay. You had me up till then.
Mm-hmm.
It was fuck. She asked them if they're protesters, and he says like, fuck no, me and Silent Bob are pro-choice. A woman's body is her own fucking business, which is one of the it's Kevin Smith talking to the audience, and it's wonderful. You're like, no.
Right, I'm with Jay right there, and then he's talking about how
Why would they be?
I think that we're here to meet loose women is like, because why else would they be here if they didn't like to fuck?
Yeah, it's just
I can actually forgive that a lot more than the constant way he pressures her for sex.
Oh yeah. Again, Jay is the worst.
It's actually less cringy to me, and I always found that line kind of funny. Like, why else would they be here unless they like to fuck? Because it's like Jay logic that really makes sense, and he's not saying it in a judgy way. He's just like, wait a minute. Clearly, they have had sex, and they might have sex with me. Like he's just like.
So God, right? His 16-year-old brain dick logic.
Dude, it's like 7. It's a 7-year-old logic in a 16-year-old body. Don't even.
Oh, he's like as a former teenage boy.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I was not digging about my dick when I was 7. I was thinking about Optimus Prime.
Which is what I later.
You're thinking about Optimus Prime's dick when you were 7?
No, that is a symmetric thing. I am not getting into that. Love you, Sean. So yeah, they are there because they're there to pick up chicks. Randall is selling guns to Barnaby and Loki as flaming swords are not available at the time. I do love how I love
that conversation.
Yes. Well, it's 3 matches of Kevin Smith dialogue. It's whoever plays Randall, whose name escapes me at the times. The
Jeff
Ben,
Anderson.
Thank you. Jeff Anderson, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon just like saying Kevin Smith dialogue, which it works. It works.
I didn't just set fires; I rained down napalm.
Right. Yeah.
Oddly, it has notes kind of reminiscent of the I'm not a tracer, I'm an inker like conversation from Chasing Amy, which we'll get to eventually.
Yeah. Next month. Oh, yes, next month is Chasing Amy.
3 years later.
Oh no, Tom and I have a plan. Fuck. Oh, part of me is like, should we push Chasing Amy back to Pride and do Clerks animated series next month? And anyway.
I love Clerks the animated series.
Fucking yeah.
I love it so much. Anyway.
Yes.
So that I have notes here that gun shop scene is probably the most realistic scene today, which is.
I know, like no background checks, just like.
Right.
Fuck it.
Right.
So they're all in a diner. First off, I love Bob's smile in that diner so much. Just his like happy giddy smile. That's like the happiest I've seen Kevin Smith in my entire life. As well as Jay's review of John Hughes' filmography. I kind of love the way that this. Yes.
Okay, so this is where I take off my Kevin Smith hat and put on my Chris's Comics Corner hat, because this is where we get into the deep Kevin Smith bullshit. You're saying, Chris, what do you mean with this? So, at the time, as Kevin Smith was putting out the hit movies like Chasing Amy and Dogma, he was also dabbling in the comic books.
Oh boy, here we go. I know where you're going, buddy.
Yes. Jay and Silent Bob explained they're in Illinois because of some because of some John Hughes bullshit. I'll mention John Hughes in a minute. This is not seen at any point in any of the build-up of previous Kevin Smith movies. It is seen in, I believe, the 6-issue miniseries Chasing Dogma, in which it was the prequel to this movie, in which you find out that Jay and Silent Bob go to Illinois because they want to be the fat blunt masters of Illinois. It's I have not read that comic since it came out, so I imagine I know the artist is pretty good. He went on to form Man Action Studios along with Joe Kelly, Steven Seagal, and a bunch of two other writers' names escape me, who brought us such hits as Ben 10 and a bunch of other Cartoon Network joints. But yeah, this is where we get the Kevin Smith world building bullshit. And I'm glad, like, as someone who read that comic, because, oh boy, Kevin Smith my favorite at age 16/17, it was nice to be like, oh yeah, he did the thing, he said the thing he's gonna do in the comic, and then the comic wasn't Jeff Suda. Jeff Suda was in Warner Brothers, not Man of Action. He did the thing in the comic, and then he referenced the comic and like in world building, and I fucking like was like the one kid that was like, yeah, comics. Also, see Chris ages 25 to now every time the Marvel does the thing that's in the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I have those comics too.
Chris's comic hat will come off for now, but it's nearby.
Yeah,
it'll
I
always
had
be
those
nearby.
comics as well. I don't know where I don't know if I still have them, but I definitely have them.
I love the way that this movie treats John Hughes, because this is actually not the only time that they reference. I like that they
like
kind of
great, but also fuck him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a. No, I'm not thinking of John. I'm not thinking of Hughes in that. I'm thinking about John Landis. One of the running jokes that I have is that Max Landis is proof that John Landis hasn't done anything good since 1985, or hasn't created anything good since 1985. John Hughes has made some. Is in a similar boat where after 1999 he kind of made some.
Right.
A lot of dog shit horrible films, but I love that they kind of praise 16 Candles here, and then in 45 minutes shit on Home Alone, which is a John Hughes film.
Right. Also, a line that always makes me laugh is Judd Nelson's a harsh motherfucker.
It was harsh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so the one exception to that John Landis joke that I made is 1988. Coming to America did come out, but also I think the credit for the greatness of Coming to America has to do with John Landis compared to everything else in that movie.
Yeah.
So my joke still stands. So do you do anal? Do chicks fart if you blast them in the ass? Is the next note that I have, which is another beautiful J line. and
Yes.
caught me by surprise because again, Comedy Central censored version. I didn't hear that line for years.
You didn't hear that. This is another part where it's like the I feel like the dead on the end like makes them on a rewatch of this. The fact that Linda Fiorentino is just like so straightforward makes the scene feel creepier than I want it to, because they're just kind of like light and comedic, and instead of it being like they have a rapport with this woman where she's kind of being pissy at them and they're being a little pissy and silly with her and they're kind of like joking around, you know, and she's like, get back to the subject, stop thinking about fucking sex, Jay, I'm asking you a question, like, you know, like, hello, you know, kind of a thing. She's like, I'm not going to have sex with you, and I'm like, and it just makes them, the fact that they keep asking about it, like, creep.
Yeah.
It's also weird because, like, we get the line, which admittedly did make me giggle, where Jay just, like, blurts out, I'll scream rape.
Yeah, I had that. I had that listed as
does not sound great. Yeah.
I have that listed as a medium-sized oof.
Yeah. It's, because, like,
He says some other things there, though, that are really funny. His delivery in a few of those there.
Delivery
I don't know if I wrote it
is
down.
really fucking good.
Yeah.
I love that. So she agrees that she won't have sex with them, but she will pay them for their help. And then Jay busts out another great fucking line, and the mandatory Star Wars reference in this movie. I'm like Han Solo. Fat ass is like Chewbacca. You're Ben Kenobi, and this is that fucked up bar. the emphasis on fucked up bar, just fucking the good Jason Mew shit. You know, Jay again, the worst in this movie, like in a moral sense. But Jason Mew and Kevin Smith are at their full power in this movie, and I'm here for.
Oh God.
There's
it's
also
so funny.
Jay also makes a promise that if the world is about to end, she will sleep with them.
She will sleep with him, yeah.
Yes. So we'll end the talk here because it's getting a little late. And we'll do.
Wait. We do have one. I feel if we push it a little further, we have a great spot to end it at. So.
Okay.
I mean this bit, yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah. That. Okay. So as they're hanging out. They try and drive away. Jay doesn't know how to drive a car, which I don't know how they got there in the first place. It's been a while since I read the comics, so I have to reread that.
Oh,
they take a bus.
It's a bus, yeah.
They take a bus.
Yeah.
So they are, speaking of buses, a bus passes them as the car is broken down, with Barnaby and Loki, and we see a couple making out in front of them. While they talk about Loki's ability to spot sinning. So he sees the wedding band on the guy's hand and pokes him 2 times to say, hey, are you married? What do you think, asshole? Are you married to her? Not that it's any of your fucking business. Don't. And then he promptly gets shot. So,
Loki does a murder.
The person who was making out with that person in the so the characters' names listed in the credit sequence are Smooching Seaman and Seaman Smoocher, which makes me giggle like a fucking child.
I didn't know that. That's so good.
And they are played.
I am 5, and that is so good.
They are played by Scott Mosier, aka the producer of the film and one of Kevin Smith's longtime friends, and Monica Hampton, who was also a producer on a lot of these films.
That's awesome.
And now they're dead.
And now they're dead because whose house? Ron's house.
Ron's house.
I said whose house?
Ron's. So that entire segment is just fucking great.
It's Snowball getting some on the bus, guys. It's good.
My God, it is.
It's Snowball. He's snowballing her, and she's not even his wife, guys.
Oh my God. I believe Monica Hampton also plays someone making out in Chasing Amy, so like her entire acting role in Kevin Smith films is to make out with somebody.
Hey,
it's probably pretty good, and they all were like,
yeah. If it's a paying gig, it's worth it.
So then Chris Rock comes smashing down from the sky, and he is caked the fuck up.
Okay, we're gonna end it here because it's 8:15.
That is that is I think the
and then Chris Rock falls out of the sky.
Yeah.
And then Chris Rock fell down with the fucking caked up on a Thursday afternoon. Because damn,
that's gotta be a stunt ass though.
Yeah.
We'll end it on stunt ass. All right. So before we go, Edie, thank you so much for coming out. I assume you'll be back next week to continue our brand of bullshit. Do you have anything to plug before we wrap this up?
I'll hang out with you guys anytime. First of all, you're wonderful and delightful, and this is really fun.
Yes.
You can follow me on Twitter at Edie Helena. It's like Helen with an A at the end. EDIEHELENA. And I have a podcast. If you read 2000 AD magazine, which probably most people who follow you don't, because it's like a British thing, but just in case. I have a podcast called The Great Dante Read Through, where me and my husband, who's a comic book artist, talk about the comic that he co-created. And many people drew, including Charlie Adlard, who later would draw The Walking Dead. So yeah, we're doing a read through, and that's really fun. And yeah, you can find me on the internet.
Edie is a delight. I'm glad to have her here. I'm glad she reached out to me and screened let me on your show, and I said yes.
We will have Edie on for a couple more episodes, and I'm very excited about this.
Edie's gonna be our first guest and our first recurring guest and our first lady guest. Wow! Look at us.
Triple threat.
Yeah.
Well, because of course me and Chris did the first 2 episodes, and we're like, hey, bye everybody. Click, Chris. I'm gonna stab you. Just kidding. We're all friends.
You're both so delightful.
Well, I mean, like Tom and I threaten each other's lives all the time. It's like that's nothing new.
Oh, like to show love.
Yeah, but that's usually more Clussy related and.
God. Anyway,
Kevin Smith, I hope you're watching.
Yes, thank you so much for coming out tonight. We're not done yet, though. I'm gonna go do a pee-pee as we go on break, and then we get back. I'm gonna beat all your asses in Soul Calibur 6, and then you can get your revenge on me at 10 o'clock tonight when we play some Among Us. Join us again next week at 6:30. 6:30 Eastern Standard Time for more caked up fucking Chris Rock ass talk, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Yep. All right. See y'all in a bit.